Hello, this is Load Bearing Beams, the movie podcast hosted by me, Matt Stokes, and also
me, Lacey Roth.
Welcome to the show. And I want to say thank you to everybody, all the scores of listeners on YouTube and on the podcast for understanding that we had to take a week off.
Oh.
I hate to do it.
We have no proof you understood, but it happened.
Well, yeah, no, nobody... Maybe I wish I'd gotten lots of angry tweets or something.
Where are you guys? It's Friday.
But I know that when I listen to a podcast, I count on it being there in the morning.
I know.
And I hate that.
You put a little note. You got their hopes up. They saw a new download. They downloaded it, and it was us talking for 3.5 minutes, half-heartedly. You're welcome.
And we are such a fine-tuned machine with the podcast at this point. We put out a press release each month saying breaking news, these are the movies we're covering this month, and I hate that we had to delay our schedule.
Okay, you're doing a lot of housekeeping.
That's fine. We can do a little housekeeping.
All right, just put some timestamps.
I always put timestamps.
Just stamp it.
Yeah, we had snow in Louisiana. It was fucked up.
Everyone thinks it's like we sound like babies. We sound like baby boom booms. But it was snow, guys, and it was 7 inches, and we've never seen even an inch of snow in our town in our entire lives. So there, we didn't know what to do.
All right, on to bigger and better things, talking about baby boom. But speaking of babies, we made a bonus video about babies. On our social media, our TikTok, load.bearing.beams, our Instagram, load.bearing.beams, our Twitter, load.bearing.pod, and our Blue Sky, load.bearing.beams, you can see our bonus video where we name our favorite babies from movie.
Favorite baby movies. No. Favorite babies from the movies.
Favorite movie baby, not favorite baby movie.
That's different.
Yes. All right, baby boom. What is your history? You picked, Lacey brought us this movie.
I brought it to us.
I'd actually don't think I'd ever heard it outside of Lacey mentioning, I like baby boom.
It is a memorable title. It doesn't, those two things don't, it sounds like it's going to be a wacky exploding baby movie, and it's not at all. This is right in the groove of 80s movies that I completely adore. I love Diane Keaton. I love her awkwardness, but then her how she's very polished and very well words things, and then all of a sudden freaks out. And anyway, I love Diane Keaton. I love this Diane Keaton particularly. And this movie would be one of the ones that I watched several times every summer while being babysat by a particular woman who had a huge, if it came on HBO, she would record it. That was the catalog. And she had a little recipe box, and I'd go through the recipe box and I'd be like, I'll be watching The Mannequin today, Barbara. And then she'd cue it up.
If we could just see that catalog, if we could find it somewhere, if it's in a mini storage somewhere, this is a part of history. This is part of Load Bearing Beams history. How many movies come out of that card catalog?
If this were like Ready Player One in my mind museum, that would be like a spinning item on a column that's levitating with light coming out of it.
And this is the moment when Lacey went to her babysitter's house, and the VCR had lots of tapes.
Okay, no, the VCR does not. It only accommodates one at a time, Matt. That's the thing you don't know about VCRs. You're silly.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's not like a DVD deck thing, spinny thing. Stupid boy.
Anything else about your history?
No, I've seen it a million times. I probably have not seen it in 25 to 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is it good? You like it?
I love it.
What do you like about it?
I know that it's cheesy. I know that it's simple. It's probably going to be one of the easiest things to talk about we've ever talked about because it's very straightforward. But I think
there's some stuff going on in it.
But I will say, as an adult, as a woman, and going through these different phases of feminism and Me Too and my own career and all the things, there's a perspective there that I, of course, didn't have as a kid. But I still, the notes are still the same. The way I feel at different times, I'm still like, I'm still striking them the same.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got it in a way that probably most 7 and 8 year olds didn't, because my mom wore the giant shoulder pads, wore the tennis shoes, was always in a hurry. I was very aware that she was one of just a few women in the high rise in New Orleans, and that it was very hard on her, that there was never enough time to pick us up, to cook dinner. The whole idea of like a working mom, I already understood that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that that's very different from Diane Keaton in some aspects because of money. But I think I don't think there was a whole bunch of like, oh, well, it really was bad on women back then. I think I got it. It was bad.
Yeah. And certainly like this is a movie about, well, she's not an executive, but I mean, this is a movie about one of the winners in this crazy economy. And your mom certainly was
one of the losers, never got a raise.
I was going to say loser, but
no, I mean, she wasn't a good advocate for herself. Didn't even know that she could. She was a guy's gal. She was one of the guys. That's how she got along.
You see, even in the language Lacey uses, she's putting down using this patriarchal capitalistic trap that you have to be your own advocate to get ahead in this world. Got to break out of that. Man.
I don't even think it would have occurred to her that she could fight for herself. And unfortunately, it takes something like a term like what's that horribly racist term that everyone throws around when they decide they can't get a raise. Affirmative action.
Okay.
Like I remember maybe in the 90s or 2000s, like when she was starting to get really pissed about having a completely stagnant salary for decades, or probably not decades, but that she would throw that phrase around, and I didn't totally understand what it was, but I knew she wasn't blaming her boss. I knew she was blaming other people also trying to climb the ladder, and specifically Black people. And she would never call herself racist. I think she has racial bias like everyone does, and maybe a little more because we're in the South for her. And she's old school. Ugh, God, she sounds racist right now. But anyway, this is just how they divide us. They give you someone to be the target rather than it's just the fact that Shell wasn't. They don't keep their people. They more and more were switching to people who were freelance and they didn't have to give benefits to. And you were just the perfect little cog, Mom, in that oil company machine.
To hear more about this, listen to our Severance recap, where we talk all about how the system creates these divisions.
Beth.
Yes, Lacey's mother Beth creates these things like you resenting your coworkers for getting raises rather than realizing there's an actual target that all of you should go up against together, and now the entire system is designed to fight against that.
Specifically with the gas industry in Louisiana, I'm just now kind of remembering something. It was like every year it would come up, this threat of having to move to Houston. This like, they just did another round of, what would you call it? Just when they'd relocate. Either you lose your
Transfer.
job. Yeah, either you lose your job, keep your job, or keep your job in Houston. And we would have to, the idea of moving like terrified me. I was not an adventurous kid in that way. So I remember every year it was just like, oh, good news, I'm not being transferred. But so they'd have the employees focus on those three things rather than a review, a raise, the thing that most people in a company expect at the end of the year. It was like, it was the raise that, nope, same. Good job, Beth. Yeah. You stay right where you are.
Yeah, your raise is you keep the job.
Status quo, you've achieved it.
It's funny. I remember because I grew up in the suburbs of New Orleans and Shell was a giant employer and just the energy industry in general. But yeah, I would have friends and you'd lose a friend to Houston. Yeah. They got transferred to Houston.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this might as well be 100 years ago. People had jobs back then. New Orleans had big companies and people had jobs. Baby Boom. It would have been interesting to also watch Working Girl, which either came out 87 or 88 and was about similar things. A woman struggles in the workplace and she triumphs in the end. I think that's a better movie, but I like the whatever mild things this movie is trying to say about how difficult it is to succeed and then questioning, why do you even want to succeed in this fucked up world?
Yeah.
I think it's poking like a little gentle fun at the sort of 80s we have to go for it all attitude. Yeah,
especially with the voiceover. This voiceover, I think maybe for the first time I realized was tongue in cheek. I think I would have missed that.
And the montage with the maps on screen and her going from town to town. They do that and then they go away from the montage and then they bring the montage back. But this time there's cash being thrown at you on the screen. Yes,
but then they showed like a stock market ticker and it's like, she hasn't gone public. She's still in Vermont.
No, the movie knows what it's doing.
Yeah.
It's poking gentle fun. I like this movie. I've said before, I think Diane Keaton might be my favorite actress, but weirdly, she can also really annoy me if she's off.
Yeah.
Whatever, handful of quality she has of simultaneously being so confident and smart, but also head in the clouds and ditzy and distracted. and befuddled.
Well, and nervous and vulnerable, and she's kind of clumsy.
Yeah,
like she can be very elegant. She's got very long limbs, but when she's stressed out, she flails. They go dead. Her arms do not. Her arms stop working. And her scream.
And somehow she can do play all of that at the same time. I think this is a great performance from her. She is the entire movie. She carries the entire movie.
Yes.
And it's nice just to see her in this era where she gets to like flirt a little with Sam Shepard. It's kind of nice. It's like, this is how she acts in Woody Allen's movies, but I'm not having to watch a Woody Allen movie. That was kind of nice.
Yeah, she gets to be sexual without being sexualized. You know, and they call her the Tiger Lady. So at no point is she like, no one's like giving her work because she's hot. She didn't sleep her way to the top. You know, her clothes tell you that right away. The way the men treat her tell you that right away. So it's like kind of refreshing to have this nuanced person who is complicated, changing, and isn't your typical woman in any kind of way, but is, you know, like that's the whole point. Women are all kinds of things. And I think this movie, especially for its time, let her be different and still sexy. Or sexual, like she still wanted sex. You know, she's the pursuer, and even though they do the rape kiss, which, you know, rape kiss par for the course in this time and age, but
and it can be hot.
If you rape kiss me, I'm going to have sex with you, Matt. It's gonna happen.
Threaten me with.
Don't come at me like that, man.
But okay, I would have predicted, if we were still doing our predictions on the show, we got to bring those back.
No, please, Scott.
I actually hated those, even though it was your idea. I would have predicted that the whole movie is what do I do with a baby?
Right, like three women and a little lady, little baby and a little lady.
Another movie I've never seen.
Oh, well, that whole thing, because it's three men trying to figure out how do you work a baby?
Do you pour Pepsi in the diaper?
No.
I was really impressed with the movie getting all of that out of the way and even getting I've decided I love this baby and I'm going to keep her. They get that out of the way by like minute 28. And I was very impressed. And it goes in unexpected directions. I think the movie's kind of two movies, and there's actually at exactly halfway it divides. Second half of the movie less interesting than the first, but it's still a fun, charming time.
I remember way more of it being set in Vermont. That's always, I always think let's get through the city part now. Come on. I think it make, you know, fuck my life. I think it had good pacing, and to show you the different stages of her getting accustomed to having a kid, how she what would that actually look like if she tried to keep the career and the baby? In my mind, she kind of gives up on the career really fast, but like, no, she really fucking tries, and she's exhausted. And, you know, you just see these little telltale signs that you're not keeping up. Your promotion just got pushed off at least another year. We're not even talking about it anymore. This kid that's like 10 years your junior, who you brought in, is now in your office when you're not there for some reason. This just all these little, it's a really good natural progression to fuck this place.
I was so impressed with how delicate the movie was with all of that. It doesn't hammer any of that on the head. I mean, I credit to Nancy Meyers' script, and she co-wrote it with Charles Shire, the director, without her ever saying like, you know, you're doing things here while I'm off being a mother, and it's not fair. You can just see it on her face. You can see it when she's talking to her boss and she's trying to, you know, like, hey, I'm still here for you. I'm so committed. And then an assistant brings in a teddy bear that she ordered.
Right.
And her boss just kind of gives her a look like, you got a world outside this office.
And there's not really anyone to be mad at, except for maybe the coat check lady at the frickin' restaurant. Figure it out, woman. She could have landed the food chain deal a whole day earlier. Anyway, I mean, like Fritz, the boss, even the little shit that is replacing her. They don't lean too hard into any one stereotype. Even the love interest is kind of chill. Like, it's not, you know, even that part of it isn't like overblown romantic. It just is.
And the sexism that you see, they trust the audience to understand it's sexist without it being like really hammered. It's never like the super boss who comes in who's going to approve a promotion. He's not like, oh, this lady's, I don't know about this lady. He just has like a little comment about not knowing one of the female partners' names.
Right. He's like, oh yeah, who, the redhead?
Oh, the redhead. Yes. Like, oh, the redhead. Okay.
And then that's why I pointed it out in the last one of the last scenes where she's in the boardroom again, and the only other woman. Well, there's two other women.
Her.
Yeah, the redhead, and then there's one other woman there too.
let's talk about the history of Baby Boom. Now, this movie, Lacey picks all these classic movies that always have an oral history. Not the case with Baby Boom. There's so little information out there on this movie. And so instead, I will tell the tale of Nancy Meyers and Charles Shire.
Ooh.
If you're not familiar with these folks, they were a Hollywood power couple. Charles Shire, who just died literally a month ago. Nancy Meyers.
Is she in her 60s now or older than that?
She's in her 70s. They're responsible for Baby Boom, for Father of the Bride 2. As a writing team, they wrote Private Benjamin, and then they professionally and personally divorced, and Nancy had a very successful solo directing career with Something's Gotta Give, and It's Complicated and stuff like that. But let's go back to the beginning.
I never give her credit, but she's definitely on par with almost the level of John Hughes in terms of like racking up movies that just speak to me. They're just my kind of heart and wit and cheese and easy story.
I think that people really appreciated her as a director. I think when she was in her heyday, they're kind of dismissing her as like a real estate porn, and also just like, oh, those are ladies' pictures. But she cares so much about production design. She cares so much about actors, gives roles to actors who are over 50, and tells like stories about human beings and at a giant budget, and the kinds of movies that we would kill to see in movie theaters today. Yeah. And she spent basically the past 10 years trying to get another movie made and just failing over and over again because she won't budge on the budget she needs. And no one will write her a check.
Well, now that Charles is dead, is there any money?
What, like, did he leave his house?
Yeah. No, well,
but he
sure.
left a baby.
But maybe, oh, fuck. Well, maybe he had a little insurance. I'm just saying, I want that movie, Nancy.
No, you never put your own money into a picture, Lacey. The first mistake.
She's in her 70s. We're only going to get one more.
We should get a Nancy Megalopolis. Nancyopolis. That would be awesome. Charles Shire was born in 1941. His father was the president of the Directors Guild. Fucking Nepo babies going all the way back to old Hollywood.
It's called networking, baby.
So in 1976, he begins his romantic relationship with Nancy Meyers. He has success as a Hollywood screenwriter, writing Smokey and the Bandit in 1977, House Calls and Goin' South in 1978, and then in 1980, his first collaboration with his romantic partner, Nancy Meyers. They write the script for and co-produce Private Benjamin. Howard Zieff directed it. They get an Oscar nomination for the screenplay. Now, I said on our Overboard episode last year, because I watched that movie to prepare for our Overboard episode, and that movie fucking sucks.
Yeah.
But weirdly, it has a similar structure to Baby Boom, where it's two movies that divide up at the halfway point. And in that case, the first half of Private Benjamin's okay, and the second half is dreadful, whereas with Baby Boom, the first half is really, really good, the second half is good. That's all. Okay, here's a weird mystery I could not solve. When did Nancy and Charles get married? Some sources have them getting married in 1980. Others have them getting married in 1995 and only actually being married for 3 years. I get different sources in saying both things.
Do they have children?
They do. They have 2 children.
What do they say?
I don't know.
Can we call them?
Annie and Hallie, who are also the names of the Parent Trap kids.
Well, and Annie is the little girl in the town hall dance scene. I keep pointing out. That's Annie, the little girl. She's not important. I just know her name.
Nancy Meyers wrote this essay in 2020 about her relationship with Charles Shire. And she said in it, quote, "After our divorce, he remarried, had twins, and got divorced again. I was his third wife. She was his fourth. Our relationship lasted the longest of his 4 marriages, something I've always been weirdly proud of. We spent almost all of our 22 years together making movies." So it's like that sentence seems worded in a way it's like she's trying to get around. I could see them actually not having gotten married in 1980, but common law, husband and wife, and then legally getting married in 95.
Well, and also maybe it helps package movies in some kind of way. Like, we're not just dating. We're not going to break up mid this and like this whole package is going to get blown apart. We're actually married. This is stable.
Yeah. So then Charles Shire makes his directorial debut on a movie called Irreconcilable Differences, co-written with Nancy. So let's go to Nancy's biography. Born in 1949, her father, Irving Meyers, made voting machines. Okay. She moved to Los Angeles in her early 20s to pursue screenwriting. To make ends meet while learning the screenwriting trade and working in production houses and stuff, she started a small cheesecake business after her cheesecake was a big hit at a party. This is how she supported herself.
Okay, and that is similar to Martha Stewart, which just got lots of compliments from throwing house parties, so she started a catering business, and that led to the show. And I know that is similar to Baby Boom as well. But that's awesome, because while I was watching it, I had watched the Martha documentary a couple months ago. I was like, wait a second, this does happen.
I just love learning that. You watch the movie like, what's up with this baby food business, and then read her biography and, oh, she did this. Okay.
Yeah.
So she became a story editor at the film division of Motown, and that's where she met Charles Shire. They start collaborating. They start dating. They write Private Benjamin.
I love this slide that you have here.
Why? What are you looking at?
Well, because it's like the third one combines the first two.
So we're looking at a poster of Baby
Baby
Boom.
Boom, Father of the Bride 1, Father of the Bride 2. And Diane Keaton is obviously in all three of these movies. And on the cover of the second movie, Father of the Bride Part 2, there's a baby kissing Steve.
Yep. Just put it all together. It's like the
what
Avengers.
Do you get?
The Avengers of these movies. Baby Boom, which was a modest hit in 1987. Charles Shire directs it. Nancy Meyers produces it, and both of them write it together. That's their division of labor. There are some descriptions of like their writing process. I suspect that she was actually a co-director. I'm sure when you're on set, they're just both together. And, if an actor's talking, the actor's probably talking to both of them to get feedback or to be told how to play a scene. But Baby Boom is Nancy Meyers' first collaboration with Diane Keaton, who becomes Nancy's on-screen avatar. And then Baby Boom was briefly a TV series in 1988. Kate Jackson, who was one of the original Charlie's Angels, she plays JC. It lasted 13 episodes.
That's not terrible. Although it's kind of the heyday of getting bullshit on TV.
Yeah,
right?
I know. It's bad for back
bad.
then.
That changed my mind.
So next up was Father of the Bride, a remake of an old movie. Shires directs it. They co-write it. Nancy produces it. It's a huge, huge hit. Then they make a sequel 4 years later, also a hit. And at that point, Nancy then moves to the director's chair. And here's what she says in 2020 about the kinds of stories she tells. Quote, I have spent the last 2 decades not only being single, but writing a couple of movies about divorced women my age, purposely defying the cliches that being older and single meant you were destined to be undesirable, lonely, and isolated. I wrote about women in my films who blossomed post-divorce, much as I had done in some ways. I was driven by a desire not to be put in a box by my age or divorce, and I wanted to project a positive spin for women like me. And in my movies, I wanted to try to be funny about it all. Why not laugh at some of what life throws at us? End quote. Which is even in Baby Boom. Like, she doesn't get divorced, but she kind of gets divorced.
Right.
And then finds herself in a midlife now with a baby, but still wanting the things she always wanted. So her first time directing is a remake of The Parent Trap in 1998. This is her last time working with Charles because he co-writes it and produces. And then they get divorced personally and professionally. And Nancy Meyers next directs What Women Want, which is an enormous hit. Like, this movie made $400 million worldwide. It's like a Marvel movie, basically.
Dang.
But it's also the only movie she didn't receive screenwriting credit, but I saw that she did a bunch of uncredited rewrites. Something's Got to Give in 2003, where Diane Keaton plays Nancy Meyers. She's a successful playwright. Her ex-husband directs her plays in that movie. She's literally playing Nancy Meyers. And this is also a giant hit. And Diane Keaton gets an Oscar nomination.
I haven't seen The Holiday in a long time. I remember liking it, but I remember it being sad. Anyway, sorry.
Sad?
Isn't The Holiday sad? Isn't there like a dead wife?
Is there a dead wife? Is there a dead wife?
Not anyone on the cover, but someone died.
Probably Jude Law's wife is dead. I don't remember really.
Sure, she's real dead.
Yeah, he's got these 2 kids and don't want some bitch ex-wife hanging around. Okay, yeah. The Holiday, big success in 2006. And then It's Complicated in 2009 about a woman, Meryl Streep, who has an affair with her ex-husband, Alec Baldwin. This is from the same essay I keep quoting from. Quote, I've made some movies with characters somewhat based on Charles. In one, It's Complicated, Meryl Streep has an affair with her ex-husband, Alec Baldwin. The affair never happened in real life, but the repartee between Meryl and Alec, that familiar, fun, sarcastic, I get you, buddy vibe, the easy laughter that quickly turns distant, that's kind of us. I don't think Charles liked that I wrote something kind of like us. He told me me at the time the movie came out that he wasn't going to see it. 10 years later, he has still never mentioned that one to me. And then there's the ex-husband and Something's Gotta Give. I really do enjoy writing the ex-husband character, a relationship rich with humor and filled with pain. End quote. So, she's just made a ton of hits, but Hollywood is taking a turn away from the kinds of movies she makes. Like, even though she got big budgets to make her movies and they made money at the box office, they'd play forever on cable and airplanes and stuff. But the industry's hard pivoting away from that. And she spends 6 years trying to get another movie made, The Intern.
Which you loved, and I did too.
Yes.
But it really hit you.
Yes, I'd be interested to watch it again. It's also an interesting pairing with Baby Boom, about a woman trying to have it all. I wonder how it plays now, because it's in this era we keep talking about of the second Obama administration era of endless positivity.
Yeah.
And I wonder how this movie plays now.
What was the year?
Now. 2015.
Oh, yeah. 14 and 15, those 2 years seem to be cursed.
Yeah.
It's not like the movies are bad. It's just there's such a tone. It's blanketed across it. There was just a way we were talking.
Yes, and not that things are bad from that. The movies are now bad, but they seem dated, and dated is fine. I mean, things are made when they're made. But
considering the age of them, it's a weird early aging that is happening to that specific. I mean, because you go watch a movie from 10 years before that, and there's something kind of classic about the humor, kind of expected, this boys club thing, and then you jump. I don't know. Maybe it's just the proximity to. Maybe it feels gross because it makes us go, oh, we were like that. Oh, we did that. Where other stuff like American Pie, we were too young to have done that.
Yeah, I mean, something about making the hero of your movie, running a tech company is now like, ew.
Yeah. Right. Is that what we were striving for?
But the Intern, it was a decent sized hit. And again, I'm sure it's made so much money on cable, but Nancy Meyers has struggled to get her next film made for the past 10 years. So next movie is called Paris Paramount. And she had to deal with Netflix for a $130 million budget. It stars Scarlett Johansson, Penelope Cruz, Michael Fassbender, and Owen Wilson. And here is the plot from a press release. Quote, an above the line filmmaking duo reunite begrudgingly on set after falling in and out of love with one another.
So
wonder who that's about.
Right. Fall Guy?
No, it's just another movie about her and Charles.
I know that.
Oh, okay.
But unfortunately, it would have been a completely kind of fresh take, but Fall Guy is also about a director and someone else working on set that are not in love.
I'm confident the Nancy Meyers movie is nothing like Fall Guy.
I'm going to watch it. I'm going to see it.
Oh, but the deal with Netflix fell apart.
I'm not going to watch it.
It's still languishing. Nancy says, no, I need $150 million to make my movie, and no one will give it to her.
That's half of it's to the kitchen, and it's worth it.
Yeah. And I wonder if we'll ever see it, because I think maybe 5 years ago Netflix would have done it, but now Netflix, all these companies realize, oh, wait, we can't make money. There's no way to make money doing this.
They're operating at, what does our fancy finance friend call it? On spec, at cost? Caleb calls it something. These companies that are charging bargain basement prices with the thought process of it becoming something they'll figure out how to sell. So I think it's priced on spec.
That sounds right.
I'm just talking finance, baby. Boom.
At the same, meanwhile, Charles post-divorce, he struggles a little bit. He directs a movie called The Affair of the Necklace in 2001, an Oscar baity movie that flops. He directs a remake of Alfie in 2004 with Jude Law, also a flop.
Yep.
Then he doesn't direct another movie for 18 years until he made a Christmas Netflix movie a few years ago.
Never heard of it.
The Noel Diary starring Justin Hartley, and he says Nancy Meyers helped him by casting Justin Hartley. Anyway, so they were still collaborating even after being divorced. Read that essay that it's in the link in the description that Nancy Meyers wrote about her relationship with Charles. It's interesting. I figured they were more like, oh, we're divorced, but we're best friends. That's not the case. They were very distant until it seems like the past 5 years they kind of became good friends again, which is sweet.
That is sweet.
So I wish we had more information about Baby Boom, but
it was born. And it just
here
is.
It is. Here it is for you to enjoy.
We're going to all deal with it.
We covered Diane Keaton's career in our First Wives Club episode. So go back to that if you want to hear all about her. End history segment. immediately a bass note strikes and this logo comes on screen. And then there's 80s synth. And then New York skyscrapers and people, busy people. And women wearing tennis shoes with fancy business clothes. And I stand up and start dancing. This is my favorite thing ever to see in movies. That's why, the first 45 seconds of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 are
you had it right.
the best 45 seconds of any movie ever made. Love to see it. Love to see this little 80s New York.
All those tennis shoes, all those Reeboks with the straps. So many white shoes, so many white socks. Walking. Shoulder pads, look out. You need double seating on the train for those pads.
Forgive me for this question. You then change the shoes when you get to the office or what? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's just, there's a lot of walking in a lot of places. And even just in your average place from the garage to the office. Plus if it's raining or something, heels are not meant to keep you not falling down. And you got to walk fast, baby.
So there's this narration from Linda Ellerbee, who you kids might remember as being the anchor of Nickelodeon News. That's definitely how I knew her voice. And
it was very familiar.
Linda Ellerbee. And she talks about how, listen, things are changing. 53% of the American workforce is female. The women have moved out of the pink ghetto and into the executive suite. Take J.C. Wiatt, for example. This name, Diane Keaton, is J.C. Wiatt.
Such a good name.
What is this name?
I just love a woman with initials. Like even her name is, and you got to think like she probably took that on so that people in her email signature and her correspondence signature would think of her as a man.
That is exactly it. You're so right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I'm Jessica, Cynthia, Girly,
or might think she's Jesus Christ, which could also be helpful depending on the market.
She graduated first in her class at Yale, got her MBA at Harvard.
Something else unique about this movie that I did not remember. I mean, I remember every single moment of it, but it didn't occur to me as a Christian child how many jabs at religion this movie does, and it does 2 or 3, and I'm like,
It's Hollywood sickos trying to shit on Middle America.
Shit on it, baby.
No, I'm not here for it. They call Miss J.C. Wiatt the Tiger Lady. She works 5 to 9, makes 6 figures a year. One could take for granted that this woman has it all. One must never take anything for granted. But this is 80s America. This is Ronald Reagan's America. Everybody's going out to get that bag.
I would think she had a lot more money squirreled away if I didn't know she was renting that very expensive apartment.
No, Linda Ellerbee says she co-owns the co-op with her.
Co-owns the co-op. Okay, well then maybe she got bought out or then sells it. Okay, because I was in my head, she's like the most rich lady probably because as a child I remember the toy scene where she just buys all this stuff for her kid. I'm like, yes, buy me all those things. But as an adult, I'm like, oh, you can't afford that. No, oh, that sounds pricey. JC, you're really burning through your money right now.
No, she can afford it when she has the job.
No, that's what I know that she's about to not have the job. It's like, is this the right time for you to buy all that?
But I like that even there, it's like, yeah, you would run out of money if you stopped working and bought a house.
I like that there's some desperation. I like that it's not an endless well of money. I like that a well comes into play.
So she confidently strides into her Manhattan office building.
And something I couldn't have ever foreseen is when she's dealing with the problems of the house, I immediately think of us when we buy a house on a big piece of, it's big property for us. 1.5 acres is a lot when you're not used to acreage. And immediately everything's wrong with the house.
Yeah,
so you have,
fuck this.
You think you have money that you're going to sit on. You sold a house. Now you're sitting pretty. And then just chunk by fucking chunk. So as soon as like a pipe makes a noise, you just know.
Oh, did you want your house to have running water? Sorry, shithead.
All the paperwork that you saw about the previous utilities in this house, fake. Oh, you want to talk to the 7-year-old woman that lived here and lied to you? Daytona Beach, baby. Okay, sorry.
No, not even lied to us. We're just dumb. We didn't ask anything. We're like, okay.
It all looked good to me.
Yeah. So again, as we've said, if you want to sell some idiot something, come talk to us. We'll buy it. We're dumb.
Don't do it.
We do a little walk and talk with Diane Keaton talking to James Spader as Kin. He's her protege at the office, and she's quickly barking out a lot of business shit. She's like, we gotta streamline this organization, get rid of operating bottlenecks. I need the latest ZBBs and PBBs, and I need the CEO of IBP ASAP. and busy assistants. They keep bringing her notes and stuff to sign and cups of coffee. And she's like, hey, everybody, keep your weekends free because we're going to be working. And one assistant's like, but I have tickets to the ballet.
That I've waited for 6 months. And then she just keeps looking at her and she goes, I'll be here. It's like, ooh, that one hurts in a very familiar way.
Yeah, no.
The tiger lady doesn't get to take weekends. If you want to be a cub of this tiger lady, no weekends.
JC is invited to dinner with her boss/mentor, Fritz. Hey, Fritz. Fritz is Sam Wanamaker.
When he's sick, does his mom say he's on the fritz?
She kicks him to...
I hope so.
And he wants her to become a partner. And she's like, wow, I accept. But under the table, her leg is violently shaking. Yeah. The only hurdle is you have to impress this other partner of mine who you don't know for some reason. But here, you land the big client. The food chain is the big client. And you'll have this in the bag. But I have to caution you, Diane Keaton, you already work 80 hours a week, but once you become a partner, you'll need to work even more. And she's like, no, I know. I love work. That's all I care about.
I'm a maniac.
And he's like, okay, but here's the thing. I'm a married man and my wife takes care of all the shit, all the kid stuff, all the family stuff. That's why my life works, but it's different for a woman. So if you ever think you might have kids or no, if you ever think you're in a relationship with this guy, Steven. The way he puts it is, if Steven ever wants to have a wife, and she's like, no. I understand what it takes to mean it.
He wants this. He wants what I am.
He is very carefully not saying you can never have a kid if you work like that's not what we're promoting you to partner to do. It'd be illegal to say you can't have a kid, but he can put it like this. If your husband ever should want a wife, you know. And
it's interesting that like he would also think. It's interesting that you're not allowed to be a partner for just a few years. Because what if you just want to make really good money for 5 years and then just not be a partner anymore? It's like he very carefully doesn't want that to happen either. It's like once they mint you, once you're a good fella, once you're jumped in or whatever, they want you for life. It's like, some people can just be at the top of this food chain and decide when to go. They don't owe you a decade.
Yeah, he wants like
long
time.
Right. You can't have you look like 35, Diane Keaton. You can't have a baby in 6 years. Like, yes, she could. Let her have the baby in 6 years.
Or maybe it's I want you to be me, but I gotta find a successor. But
yeah, but there's already there already are partners. They're just making her a partner. I mean, it's not like that she's the only one.
Okay, well then, here's what's going on. They're going to make all these partners. Probably most of them are going to get fired eventually or get burnt out. But he's like, they're just trying to find that one who could be groomed to level up. Because we see later they don't even respect the partners.
Yeah, she's rattling off these Fortune 50 companies that she represents. And I'm like,
doing what?
Well, all I am is John Hamm. That rhymes. All I am is a Mad Men at that time. Like, these are big accounts. Mm-hmm. Diane, yes. JC, how did you get Delta? And I don't even know what the fuck she does for them. She's a middleman.
But yeah, she's like, no. I'm not like those other girls. I'm totally here for you. I'm totally devoted to this company. This is all I care about.
Now we meet the partner. We meet Steven, who she canceled the dinner with Steven to have the dinner with Fritz because Steven understands.
Steven is played by Harold Ramis.
Yes. And he is business daddy and she is business mommy and they have an understanding. Also, he's bad at sex. I want you to know that. Put a pin in it.
Put a pin in it.
So, I mean, you're just seeing their perfect little yuppie guppies together. They're sitting in their bed and flipping through their papers and like not really connecting with each other. He's got a mask on, like a beauty mask, so you just know, oh, this is a soft little fancy boy. They seem to perfectly understand each other, but JC is like fantasizing about like a homestead in the country, and she circles them and she cuts them out and she gets really excited about them, and he's like, you don't even take vacations, and she's like, oh, one day I might, puts that away, and then he's got the mask on, I will remind you, and he's like, just don't call it this, people. Do you want to make love? And she goes, are you kidding me? And as a kid, I'm like, yeah, that's a stupid thing to call anything. Yeah. I didn't realize she was talking about take the face shit off and then we'll do it.
That's what they called it. That's what she always calls it in movies.
It's like she writes it in, like, I will only call it this.
I want to make love to you.
Yeah. He goes and washes off the face shit and then he says, do you want to make love? And she's like, do you?
Do you want to make love?
And she does the Diane Keaton thing. I can't think of her ever being any other kind of way except for like the dukes go up. And she,
yes, when he comes to...
Yeah, she just kind of struggles down and like, force kissing happens. And that's just, if you want to kiss Diane Keaton, you have to force her at first and then she'll get into it.
You're kind of the same way. No, I'm kidding. No, what you do is you're mean and I have to push past you being mean.
That's true. Like, what do you fucking loser? And then,
it's like, I know you want to be kissed. But for some reason you're putting up your dukes. I'm like, all right, I can deal with these.
You're right. You're right. And then, she's like, they show 4 minutes go by on the clock. And
no, the joke is like the camera pans over like, ooh, we can't see this. And it just goes over the alarm clock, which says 11:46. And then it dissolves and it says 11:50 and it pans back over and they're done.
They're completely dressed. And he's like, that was
good gag.
That was incredible. The part that I like is when he's like, that was incredible. And she's like, okay.
She rolls her eyes.
I like that.
Yeah, no, it's good. Lacey doesn't like me talking about men eating pussy, so I won't talk about. Well, look, Harold Ramis, what are you doing?
He doesn't care. She just wants to get back to what she's doing. She likes that it's fast.
You gotta make her care.
That's
Harold?
not what they are, Matt. Okay, they are together because it's easy and because it's lonely if you're alone. They need to be married to their work, and they both completely understand that about each other. It is a relationship of convenience. I think it's beautiful.
I think it's beautiful too. I think these two are going to make it. I like that.
Well, I don't think they're going to make it, but I do think this makes sense.
I turned this movie off at minute 35, so you'll have to tell me. Interesting, like in a world before cell phones or the internet at all, you kind of could disconnect at the end of the day. It's like she's not like looking at paperwork. She's reading the newspaper, reading magazines and stuff.
She should go to bed though.
Just how fucking terrible our world has gotten. Then it's the middle of the night and the phone rings. It's for her. And
so she grabs her line, which is on her side of the bed.
Yeah.
I love that they both have one.
And she's like, she can barely hear the person on the other end. And she's just like, huh? Yeah. What happened? And
they're overseas. She does have a cousin who she hasn't seen in 20 years. And oh my God, there's been an accident. He's dead. And I'm the only living relative. What is it that I get? Okay, but what? I'll meet you at the airport tomorrow. But what did I get? And then we never know until the next day. A lot of things that should take a lot of red tape happen quick in this movie, I will say.
She wakes up Harold Ramis and she's like, I inherited something. It's like, maybe it's from Manson. And she says, yeah, my family, little hint right there. She's a striver. She's your Tracy Flick. She didn't grow up with a lot. That's why this is also important to her.
Yeah.
It's the next day at the airport.
And a lovely woman from across the pond, does it matter? England? I don't know. She's just like, well, all right, just sign this and here you go. And JC's like, okay, well, so what did I inherit? And she said, well, Elizabeth, of course. And it's this adorable 1-year-old baby who talks ish and who makes the best faces and immediately is very warm to JC. We don't totally know that yet, but she does seem like just a easygoing baby. But JC, I think Diane Keaton does a very good job of being like completely removed and detached from the humanness of this baby for at least a day, probably 8 hours.
It doesn't understand. You have the greatest baby in human history.
Oh, they have no fucking idea.
The most agreeable,
right?
Chill, easygoing baby. Now, not knowing anything about this movie, I didn't know she didn't get pregnant. I assumed that was the plot. I'm pregnant.
I don't know how to get an abortion.
Yeah, and then okay.
So Matt's adjusting. He's adjusting as he's learning.
This is the plot jump you have to make, is just accept how absurd this is. Like, oh, here's your baby.
And you need a baby that it can respond to you, because selfish adults, it takes time to bond with your baby. It's not always instant. And for a woman like this who doesn't want the baby, they needed to make it a baby this big.
Okay, but I just mean how unbelievable it is that you could accidentally accept, I'll take that baby, not knowing what you're
sign for the baby. And then they're feverishly looking through the paperwork to see if there's a clause to get out of it. It's like, what kind of contract would trap a human being into being in charge of another human being against their will forever? Of course, you can put the kid up for adoption.
Well, and how rushed all of this is. It's like, no, I have to get back on the plane to my next destination.
Yeah, right. This whole part is so quick, but it's just, okay, here's your baby. Well, I'm late for a lunch meeting. Fuck. And Diane Keaton must have like develops some guns throughout this process, because this woman does not put the fucking baby down. That baby can walk, but Elizabeth is on her hip for I am not kidding, at least 30% of this movie. And she's and as a bit, as to show you just kind of the frazzle way that Diane Keaton, her charm, JC's charm of like a doer, but not maybe being the most logical thinker about how to do it, just holding everything at once, the bag, a suitcase, a baby, your briefcase, like,
the way she handles this baby at the beginning, the way she holds her, it's like
it's a real baby.
I think that's a real baby and not a dummy, but she is being really careless.
Sideways, they could probably have like some sort of harness on so that the baby can't actually fall if she were to let go, but that baby is sideways for like 30 minutes.
My sister Maggie, who is adopted, I'm 16 years older than her.
Around this age, right? Well, 6 months.
Yeah, was delivered to us at the airport by a courier. It was not this rush. There was like a whole thing. We had a whole sit down and took pictures and everything, but it was a here's your baby. But yeah, my sister was 6 months old, and it was not as smooth as it is with this movie where the baby's just like, yeah, I'm fine. It was a traumatized poor little baby for a month afterward. Yeah,
but this movie does imply that JC has some kind of magical-ish connection. Maybe it's because it's familiar. Maybe she smells like her mom or something. But there's Elizabeth is particularly agreeable when Diane Keaton's holding her. Not, they show it over and over again. That, like, or at least it's like the way the movie's directing her to be like, no, it can only be you. It has to be you. I do get sad when I think of the little girl being pawned off on different people in the beginning, and how much she must have gone through, and the fact that she lost both parents. I mean, I forgot how there was a kind of an older baby, and it's like, for the first time I was like, this is fucking sad. This baby's probably jet lagged too, and she just keeps being put in the arms of people she doesn't know, and now adoption, and what a horrible in real life, this baby would need therapy like right away. Like, you just would. This baby would be fucked.
The other thing about
it would have a speech delay.
The other thing about my sister took a 36-hour flight, got off the plane, was jet lagged and confused, and was like happy in a daze, and we're all like, oh, she loves us right away. After a few days, she started to realize what was going on. It was like, fuck this.
Yeah.
Okay. This Elizabeth the baby, played by twins Christina and Michelle Kennedy. Here I have a little. This is from the IMDb trivia. Now, IMDb trivia, if you don't know, can be unreliable because people can just submit it. There's no source cited for this, but let's just pretend it's real. Quote, when Christina and Michelle Kennedy were in college, they found out that Diane Keaton was doing a book signing in Southampton, New York. They showed up, and when Keaton was doing signings, they placed the photo for Keaton to sign. Keaton remarked on the photo that she'd been thinking about the twins the other day. When she went to sign, she looked at the sisters, back to the photo, and realized it was them.
Aww.
Keaton subsequently got up and hugged them both. The sisters later went on to become teachers.
It gave me goosebumps because I'm stupid.
What a good choice to have this baby be 14 months old.
Yes.
And here's another thing that a great decision the movie makes is everything this baby does is something a normal baby would do. Mm-hmm. And none of it is over the top. And none of it is unbelievable. It's all very believable baby behavior. But this is basically like the most fun age a baby can be.
It really is. Yeah. And because they just look like an actual baby that can walk.
Yeah, they can walk a little bit. They can say a few words, can do things like point, but they still look kind of stupid when they do it. It's just very funny. And
you know how you need something to make fun of at your house? You just get a fucking stupid baby.
No, I mean, babies just have so much personality at this age. It's the most agreeable baby in human history.
Yeah, I mean, it is TV, baby. It does a lot that the lady who's dropping her off is like, you'll see, she's a very agreeable child. It's like, hey, she is.
She is. That wasn't a sales pitch.
Okay, so now we go to a very stressful scene for me. It reminds me of the Mrs. Doubtfire scene where Mrs. Doubtfire is pretending to be both the old lady and themselves at the same restaurant because they have a dinner at that restaurant and they're trying to get a job. So they go into the bath. He goes into the bathroom, puts on the old lady outfit, goes to the family, goes back into the bathroom, takes off the old lady outfit, goes to the interview. It is fucking, I hate it. Anyway, this movie kind of does this for a minute where she hands off the baby to the coat check lady who does not want this baby. This is a very, very fancy expensive restaurant where everyone knows the staff and are regulars. They're used to being treated a certain way.
It's very funny. I mean, she just marches in like, do you have anything to check? And she's like, yeah, and just hands her the baby.
Right.
And always plays this as like, this is totally normal that I'm handing you a baby. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. The only thing that maybe is a little movie-esque is how clueless these two adults are about children. I guess maybe I just don't. I couldn't imagine a world where I didn't know a baby or two, but I mean, the whole scene where they're trying to feed the 14-month-old a big plate of linguine.
That Diane Keaton and her boyfriend.
Yes, and not being able to. We'll get there. Sorry.
Well, Charles Shire said, I read a quote where he said like, before this movie was made, or maybe like before the 80s, it would have been totally unbelievable that a woman wouldn't know how to do something like change a diaper, even if a woman didn't have kids.
Both of them, but yeah.
No, I mean, I'll hear from, like, there are podcasts I listen to from people who don't have kids, and they'll talk about like a kid in a movie and they'll be like, I have no idea what age this kid is. And I'm like, how can you not know that? Like they'll say, I don't know, is this kid 6? And it's like, the kid's 13. How can you not know something like that? But there are people who are like, I have no kids in my life. I know nothing about any of this.
And they are smart to make Diane Keaton an only child as well, because she could have either been the youngest or the only, and it would have worked. But yeah, when you take for granted when you're not 5 years older than your sibling, I watched my brother grow up. I already know what it looks like.
Yeah, only child. Her family apparently lives across the pond, and she then goes to Yale and Harvard and stuff. Yeah, there's no time to learn any of that shit.
She didn't babysit. That just wasn't her thing. Anyway, so she needs to land this account. This is their first time meeting the client, and they're at the fancy restaurant. She is a little late, and she is booking it over to the table to do her rattling off of things she knows and wants to say to win this big account. And immediately you start hearing the loudest baby cry, so I'm already like anxious, like, oh God, I'm sad for the baby. I don't want to hear a baby cry. I'm upset for the restaurant patrons.
Most of the time I've known you, baby crying is something that
it's very,
like, I know everybody's like, oh, baby cry, I don't want to hear a baby cry. That's tough. But you're like, no, I physically recoil.
It would make me cry. It would ruin me, like, for like an hour. Like it really affected me. That all changed once my child was old enough to like tell me how they are in like a real way. I realized it was tied to that. It was tied to having a child too young to really let me know that, like, hey, they're okay when they're not sharing 50-50 custody, not knowing what was going on at the other household. It immediately made me think my baby's crying. My kid is sad when I'd hear another. That's why it triggered. And then it stopped around, I don't know, when they turned like 9.
Oh, okay. So just a breezy 9 years.
Yeah, just letting you know, for the last 5, I've been great.
Okay, but during those 9 years, you had a baby. That was.
Oh yeah, but no, that's different. Hearing my own baby cry is fine. The baby's with me. It was that it triggered me being worried for the safety of my own, that it upset me. So it was only apart from my own kid did baby crying upset me.
Well, your brother just had a baby. We were visiting the baby recently, and every time the baby cried, I was like, oh, I got to do something. Lacey
no. Well, then you completely misunderstand.
No. I know that you say it's gone. It's just so ingrained in me from when we had a baby.
But what I'm trying to tell you is, when we had our baby, that too would not have been the same thing.
No, it's I'm fucked up. I have the
you're fucked up.
I gotta fix everything right away.
No, because your baby crying thing isn't about me. You're forgetting. I'm just think you're confusing trauma. I mean, I know I used to be that way, like in public when me and you would be trying to have a date or whatever, but my own kids crying does not bother me. I think you might be thinking of how much your sister cried when she first was adopted by you guys, and how like traumatizing that kind of was for your family, because you spend so much time thinking about what it's going to be like when the baby gets here. It's a really long process. And then the reality of it is, this baby's going to take a long time to like feel safe here and comfortable, and it's just a lot of crying. So I think you might be responding to a different trigger. It's not me, baby. Needing to shut a baby up is it's your shit.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Whoa. That's probably true.
No shit, Matt.
Oh, shut up. You don't know everything.
I know that, and
All right, tell me the name of this actor who Diane Keaton's talking to.
You know I don't know things like this.
What's the character's name? It's Hughes.
Mr. Elderbottom.
And he's played by the great Pat Hingle, who you will all know as Commissioner Gordon from Tim Burton's Batman. He's the prospective client. He's the guy who runs the food chain. That's the big fish, the big whale that she's going after. She's very funny and she tries to like just go through her spiel. It'd be fun to just get to see her like make a straightforward pitch.
Just really do it because she is really impressive. And that is what the work of the interns does for the rest of the movie. You see her rattling off things when she's breezing through the office for the first time. I mean, she is on top of it. She is a walking checklist. She's delegating her ass off. Too much of that would be a lot to handle in a movie. So what you end up seeing the rest of the time is her beginning that process and then getting put on repeat. Something is distracting her and she keeps starting over.
But she's just thundering through it as a baby cries and trying not to show that the baby is distracting her. But Pat Hingle's like, what is that baby doing?
Who brings a baby
into a restaurant of all things? And she's like, well, I'll go check on it.
Which is weird. Why would you be? I'll handle it.
I'll take care of this use.
I don't want you to think of me as just some other woman, but let me go handle the baby crying.
So she goes over to the coat check lady and she's like, hey, get that baby under control.
What the fuck are you doing? I don't want the baby.
And Diane Keaton's like, this baby's been through a very traumatic ordeal. Show some compassion, okay? Right. And the woman is not impressed. So Diane Keaton's like, I'll give you my Visa card. But this only buys her like 20 seconds because then she just brings the baby over to the table.
It just plumps her on blah. And it you know, and it's what, I mean, it drives the plot. I understand why she's pretending this thing, but like, honestly, the smart move, if this happened, is that's your icebreaker story. You show up at the table, tell them this wild freaking thing that just happened to you and your plan for how you're going to make it all go away. And then it's like this thing you guys know about each other. I think you played it wrong, JC.
Yeah,
don't lie.
A woman executive is like so new that she's like afraid. She's so afraid of anything that codes her as a woman, anything that codes her as a
now
mom.
you're coded as a liar.
But the movie starts the first of its many comedy cuts. The scene is very tense, and then you just instantly cut. Now you're at the grocery store. She's looking through.
And this is what I mean by JC not being a practically smart person, but just a book smart person. Because there's such a thing as like a shopping cart. You don't have to fucking hold the baby, your briefcase, its luggage, the baby bag, and all the groceries you plan on buying. But that is what makes it very funny. And then she doesn't know doesn't know anything about this baby or how to gauge things. She doesn't go to the gym. She doesn't know what poundage things are. So she goes and puts the baby in the produce scale, which my dad used to do that with us.
Oh,
yeah. People do that with babies.
But she's doing things that you'd expect a dumb dad to do in a movie.
Yes.
Mr. Mom or whatever.
So you got two dumb dads.
Yeah, this is the Two Dumb Dad movie. But there's, again, just, it's a neat touch that the movie doesn't hammer this home. And that none of the things that the baby does and the way they react to them are over the top at all.
Mm-hmm. It's truly just, we need, in their minds, okay, it is a little far-fetched. They would think this would all work itself out in a matter of days, let alone one weekend. They're going to put the baby up for adoption. They already know that. But like, that takes fucking time. Anyway, but their mind is like, we are summa cum laudes. We can figure this out for 8 hours or however long. And so they're just...
Before Harold Ramis gets back, Diane Keaton puts the baby down on a chair and she's like, okay.
I'm trusting you.
I'm leaving you here for a minute. And the baby says, hi. And Diane Keaton's like, hi.
Hi.
I love whenever she talks and the baby talks back. But this baby sounds like a real baby. Just simple words. I don't know if they prodded that baby with an electrical stick to get her to say stuff.
They had to. And I always think, the crying on cue too. It's like, did they do to make the babies cry? Oh, yes. Bothers me.
Let's hope the baby was already crying and they're like, shoot.
Right.
And the movie can do tons of stuff like only shoot the adult actors and, just play the sound of a crying baby.
Yeah. But they kind of stick with, it's the sound of her crying though, even if it is just playing the sound. Several funny little gags, but like, I've only had to see this movie once to know I wanted to speed through these parts. Like me as a kid and me as an adult, I want to get to the part where JC loves Elizabeth because she ends up being a really good mom. So like, I know these parts are funny, but I don't like them.
Well, the only really two things you have is like they try to feed the baby linguine. Here you go, baby, linguine.
Right.
And like, are they fucking idiots?
That's what I'm saying. Haven't you seen a movie, a show, anything?
The baby they just, put a camera in front of this real one of these two twins, and the baby will now play with the food. So they let the baby play with the food, then cut over to Diane Keaton and somebody throws pasta at her. And then the kitchen's covered in shit. They have the baby sitting on a stack of phone books and then strapped to the chair.
With a belt.
And Diane Keaton sprays her with 409. It's funny.
It is funny.
But like putting on even if you've never put on a diaper.
I know diapers used to not be made like they are now. I know they were very sticky. So like there's more than one movie that shows someone getting stuck to diaper tape and ripping off part of the diaper or getting it stuck to their hand. Like that's kind of
that. I will fucking go nuts if I accidentally rip the tape. Ooh.
Okay, but this is old school diapers. You probably don't remember they were like, but they were way cheaper. The plastic that goes around the absorbent padding, like just rip all the time. It was a mess. So, I mean, yeah, she's going through a lot of, but it's like, Diane, you've used a fucking pad before, right? Like you've taken something poofy out of plastic wrapping, taken the back of it off and stuck it in your underwear. Like this is the concept we're going for here, but it's on a diaper.
So there's the ordeal of her trying to put the diaper on. And then we just cut. Now the baby's laying down on the bed without a diaper.
They have a lot of butt stuff with they show the baby's butt a lot and front.
Yeah.
But at no point did Matt freak out, so I didn't freak out. But, I'm just very aware of like baby nudity now as not being as innocent as it all seemed back in the day. It's like, okay, let's respect babies as being humans who one day might not like that their vagina was on TV.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Bummer.
But that's the beauty. This is like the thing where there's like a firing squad and everyone fires at once, so you don't know who shot.
Sure.
So you put twins in here.
I don't know whose vagina that is.
Could have been. It could have been a stunt vagina. We do not know.
Hey, like a butt double for an actor. We have a different baby butt double.
We just need an old man, because by the time you come back down the life cycle, your butt recedes like that and just gets tucked in, and it's like a baby butt.
Nancy Meyers and Charles Shire just interviewing babies and looking at their asses.
Or old men.
Mm-hmm. They very funny shot of the baby lying in the bed and how Ramis is lying next to her doing paperwork. And then they give the baby the TV remote to find something to watch. And the baby puts on I Love Lucy, and it's the chocolate factory scene, which is how Diane Keaton feels right now. But the baby starts laughing and does the best thing ever that babies do, is they laugh and then they turn to you for affirmation.
Yeah,
do you find this funny too? The baby's changing channels, and you can see at the top of the frame Diane Keaton's looking down at the baby and just beaming. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this was a mistake, because this is just the actual actress smiling at the baby.
Oh, I don't know. I never noticed.
But yeah, it's something you can see. Eagle-eyed viewers will see it.
Oh, shit.
So she goes to the adoption agency and she signs the papers. My baby is for adoption. But it's just not a good time for me to have a baby.
It's not a really good time. And it's like, I hope you don't think I'm a bad person. And I think the lady's really nice. I think she says the right things. And JC looks at her like, okay, bitch. Like, whoa.
There's nothing to feel guilty about. Okay.
Guilt's not in my vocabulary. Like,
because we then
other words are. We
then cut to her having spent $1,700 at FAO Schwartz on toys and clothes.
Just the clothes for $1,700. The rest, we don't know.
Well, then it's back at home. Harold Ramis went off to a conference in Boston, so it's the two of them alone at home.
Right.
She puts Elizabeth into her own bed, and then sees that she might be getting a cold. So she orders a ton of baby sick supplies and a bottle of Valium. Just amazing. You could just...
God, New York in the 80s, man.
But she's reading from a baby book, like, whoa, God, what do I do? And she has this naked baby on her lap. And apparently this book is like, you got to put the thermometer in the baby's ass. And she's like, I don't want to. And she pops a Valium.
Do it.
And she's like, here I go.
It's going to be such essential, Elizabeth, such essential. I love the way she talks. And there are several points in the movie where you see her... Like, this woman is fearless. This woman will just do. Like, there's nothing she can't research her way out of. Yeah. She's reading the book. She's fucking getting it done. She gets a flat tire. She's reading the manual. She's getting it done. Like, it's not easy.
She'll do the work. She'll solve the problem.
Yes. And then, like, she wants to start a business. She goes to the library. She gets it. This is just her way. We are going to book this shit. Meaning, we're going to use a book.
But as often happens when you take care of a sick thing, suddenly you love it.
Yes, because you feel like you made it good back together. You made it heal.
There's like a really nice moment where you just have her sitting with the baby, they're just sitting and just like looking at each other and like touching each other's fingers.
Yeah.
And you realize like, oh, this is the first time this woman has like slowed down in 20 years.
Yes.
And done anything other than go a million miles an hour. And she's just looking at a baby.
Mm-hmm.
So the next morning she gets a call saying they found adoptive parents. So she goes to meet them, and they are an unspecified, like conservative farm Pentecostal, Christian couple.
Yes, sir. No, sir.
To call each other mother and father.
Right. And the woman is very subservient and says, sir. And I mean, she's already been told that Elizabeth has a cold, and she just gets up, takes the baby, and as the baby's crying, hush now, hush, Elizabeth, hush, Fern, hush, Fern, hush now, Fern.
They're going to name the baby Fern. They're going to change this baby's, a 14-month-old baby's name. And JC says, well, I've got all these toys and clothes. That won't be necessary.
Yeah, no. We're moving out of the trailer up to blah, blah, blah. They don't say why it's not necessary. It's just, no. This kid will not play or have clothes.
No, we're not that kind of family. We don't have toys in our family. But she hands the baby over. The baby starts crying instantly, very sad. She leaves the building, still hears the crying, and then we see her run back in. And then she has the baby again and says to Elizabeth, she says, just don't expect too much, okay? And then Elizabeth claps. So now Stephen, Harold Ramis, comes home. They go meet him on the train, and it's a very, very brief scene where he's like, I thought we still have the baby.
I don't want to.
And she's like, no, I'm thinking like I can have the baby and she'll be my baby and I'll work and I'll make it work. And he's like, yeah, I get it, but
it's not for me.
For me,
what you're going through.
For me, I just, and he shakes his head and she's like, yeah. You can't. And then they just like shake hands
for nice.
It is nice. They're both very good in this moment.
They've always been on the same page. She understands that she went off the page, and he isn't mad at her for it because it's a really natural thing to do. I just think it's very neat. Both of them are really kind about it. Back at work, she has not figured out a nanny or anything yet. And she has to come into the I can't remember if she's in unexpectedly.
No, she goes to work. She hasn't hired a nanny yet, so she just has to bring the baby to work. And this is when she's going to meet with the big boss who's going to approve her becoming a partner. So she's like, really has to impress him now. But we get the moment with Everett is his name, and he's meeting with Fritz. They're walking. Do we have any women partners? And he's like, yeah, we have the one in Chicago.
Oh, yeah, the redhead?
Oh, yeah, the redhead. And it's just a nice little moment where it doesn't hammer you home with this is sexist. Like he doesn't even know the name, but he calls her a redhead.
Right. And we're not going to consider her to be a partner because we're trying to meet some quota. We just, Fritz just thinks she's worthy and he's trying to get her a spot. It's not about her being a woman, but it is kind of about her not being a woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not ever like, okay, we need a redhead, we need a blonde,
This prize that you think you want, like this boss still isn't even going to know who you are.
There's no ulterior motive to them moving her up. There's no shady business thing of like, no, we just need a woman, it's not for them. It is for her. Fritz truly does admire her, thinks she's really good, really wants her to be a partner. That is her mentor, and he wants her to look good in front of Fritz. I just said Fritz and Fritz. Wants her to look good in front of Everett.
Yeah, there's never a moment where you're like, you just wanted me because I...
Exactly. No, you're really good at this, JC. You're going to stay good.
And what sucks is the thing that makes you good is now the thing that's going to pull you away, or is the thing that you're not going to be able to hold on to.
Right. All right. So, he walks into the office and this is Elizabeth sitting in the chair instead of JC. So already off to a weird start. And she frantically goes to the hall because clearly she's been using her receptionist to kind of help her out whenever she needs to do businessy things. And so she's whispering for her, whisper yelling, but she's not there. So she's like, shit. Guess I'm going to talk to Everett with a baby on my knee. I know I'll keep Elizabeth quiet with this. Elizabeth's perfectly quiet. Quit trying to shove a bottle in her face. And that's another one of the loop things that happens to JC when she's distracted by the baby. He's like, this is the exact kind of 10-year. Oh, I'm sorry. Hand me the bottle. Drops the bottle. Can you just hand me the bottle? This is the exact kind of 10-year. Oh, heavens. It's just like, stop with the bottle, JC, and all this would be a lot more natural. Quit making Everett have to participate in this silly task. But this is the charm of her nervous, frantic, smart but not practical nature. She does another attempt at looking for her assistant and that's not happening. So she instead takes Elizabeth outside for a pep talk about how she's going to stick this bottle in her mouth and be quiet. But it's also very sweet.
Everett, says, like, I thought you said she didn't have kids, which indicates you asked this earlier.
Yeah.
Important to know. Does she have kids? But yeah, before she can go back into her meeting, these two walk out. They're like, meeting's over. It's fun. She's like, oh, okay. And then she tells Fritz, her guy, she's like, I'm still here for you, though. I'm still the tiger lady. Ooh, and he's like, okay, good, because I need you. We're going to Cleveland together to win the big account. She's like, I'm totally here for you. I'm going to get a nanny. I promise. No more baby in the office.
So she does the trope of the nanny interview montage, and you've got all sorts and some very not okay representation. And she picks the lesser of the evils, which is this bubbly young actress who I never remember her name, but her voice haunts me.
Victoria Jackson from
Yes.
SNL. From
Yes.
Comedies.
And, she just seems down home, normal babysitter. This looks fine. I will trust you for the night. Here's all the stuff. And she's very reassuring. I've got it from here. No problem. And hey, if you go to the park, remember the mace. This isn't Grand Rapids Falls or wherever the fuck she's from. And, this seems like a totally legit childlike babysitter. And so she goes and has her meeting. And she's never looked better. This is my favorite look for her. She's got her hair up. She's looking svelte as shit. And she's delivering a powerful presentation that gets interrupted by a very not important fucking call looking for fucking nipples. But it's all just to make the joke. Nipples.
But it's decidedly, it is a boardroom full of intimidating men in suits, but she is running this room. She's got it down.
And then she's taken down a peg by an intrusive phone call she's told is an emergency, and it's just about can't find the nipples for the bottles. They're in the dishwasher, you stupid fucking bitch. But it completely undermines her and stops her train of thought. And we find out later she actually gets the account, but she's back, baby. And then she's not at all. And she returns after a really long day. She went to Cleveland and back all in one day. And to find that the bimbo babysitter met a guy at the park, took him home, and now she's in a sailor hat, nothing else. And he's behind the sofa, and they're both behind the sofa. And it's a simple scene because she's just like, what are you doing? Oh, this is Donnie. I met him at the park. He was just leaving. And JC's like, go with him. And that's it. And then smash cut to her with the stern, Olga, no nonsense, Swedish, no frills,
German, but
whatever. But now she's got the nanny thing sorted out because, although she's still a little weirded out by it, that for we got now some time with the movie where this is as good as this is going to get. I am balancing being a mom while having help, and still trying to do my career full bore.
And it seems like the TV show, this is kind of where the TV show exists, is this sort of status quo. Is Helga is her nanny, and she is trying to make it work at the office.
Well, it's well observed because it's not all bad all the time. There's like glimpses of getting your shit together, but it requires much longer nights. It requires you thinking and worrying about lots of things at once where you only had to worry about work before. So, you've got deadlines where you're meeting your deadline, but you're meeting them on the deadline day where your little shit, Ken, her protege is, hey, I already did the flash report or whatever, the report. And she's like, okay, well, it wasn't due till tomorrow. But the boss is like, well, I'll take that off your hands since it's a day. I'm just saying she's being outdone at the office, which is never the case before. And you get that juxtaposed with this is the thing about being a parent. You get in a groove, you learn what to do in a phase of their life, and then that phase changes. And those phases are short. And you cram so much into 18 years. And just when you have your feet under you, the expectations change. So she's at the park and she's, Elizabeth's playing with these other kids, and she overhears these moms who are talking about how important it is to get into the right preschool. So you get into the right kindergarten and the Ivy League. Like, it's just, she seems like she's kind of keeping a cool head, but because these women are obsessed Anyway, you're just watching her take on new things she's not ever had to think about while keeping her head just above water at work.
And feeling like she is so aware I can see it slipping away from me.
Right.
I get to the office and the boss is talking to the guy who used to be my protege.
Right. Or
and then says like, hey, we're going to bump him up. Now he's going to be your first lieutenant on the food chain thing. And she's like, she can sense like,
oh, okay.
Feels like you're maybe grooming him to take my place. But also I'm in charge of getting him ready to take my place. And you'll never say that and he'll never say it. But it's like, I know and you know I know.
Well, I used to be being called into your office after hours because you're going to promote me. But now I'm being called into your office after hours because you're going to promote him. Yeah. Not to my position, but a promotion. And, she's just being forced to like agree with stuff where before she had a say. If she didn't really want this person to be promoted or put on an account, she could have gone to Fritz and said that and it would have been done no problem. But she can just tell she does not have a choice here. And so her choices are being taken away because she's made the choice to be a mom.
Well, to succeed at this level of business, you do have to be a psychopath. And I'm sorry, people, but I don't think you're capable of being a good parent if you...
Yeah.
I think if you work more than 8 hours a day at an office, like I don't know how you can act, because the thing that sucks about being a parent is the thing your kid needs most of all is you just being there.
Just being around and being bored and being aggravated and just being that, it's like, it's not, you're not just there for the interesting, cute shit. When they're looking for you, they can find you.
Ideally, both parents would be there.
Right.
But if that's not possible, then you need at least one. And it sucks that always usually is the woman. And second wave feminism was about equality in the workplace. Women should get to be just as much of business psychos as men. And I hope we're moving to a place where we realize nobody should be like this.
Right.
This is bad for the world. And also it's bad for the people doing it. It destroys you.
Women shouldn't be trying to keep up with men. Men need to slow down. Like, we can equal things out by the men coming back, by all of it, all the expectations being lowered, but wages being livable and there being careers and safety nets with freaking insurance and everyone's not freelance. Everyone's not trying to please today's boss. You just have a fucking place at a business.
There's no reason for anybody to be working 80 hours a week doing this, but because other people are, you got to. And you have to constantly move, and eventually you'll have a nervous breakdown or you'll have a drug overdose because they're probably all on cocaine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how if you and I worked the jobs we used to have, we'd be able to continue being good parents. That's why we became freelancers, so we could work from home.
It's always so novel to me, the parents that would show up at things at school, because I never had that. And it wasn't even, I didn't expect it. I just knew she'd never be a chaperone on a field trip or even show up to a party or, maybe if there's a talent show and I was in it, that kind of, but it's just so, I just got it. And then as soon as I became a parent, there was not a doubt in my mind that I'm going to be there for every fucking thing I'm invited to. And I think there's a balance. I probably don't have to be as involved, but I could have never done any of those things. Commuting every day, and because another well observed thing here is she walks in on a day when she was going to have an off day, but she goes into work anyway, and she catches Ken in her office with his feet on the desk, and he's taking calls in her office and using her secretary, and she's like, hey, what are you doing? And he goes, oh, I thought you were off today. And what brings you in so early? And she says, fate, I guess. But then the boss comes in, also surprised to see her, and goes, oh, I didn't know you were coming in. And it's just like those little passive aggressive things. They teach you you're not supposed to do that. You have off days. You're not supposed to use them. You can take off for something. You will be missing something here. Some inside joke, some promotion, some big client, whatever it is, but you're going to pay for it.
You can
always punishment.
You can be like the person who's like, I'm a radio silence on the weekends. I don't even turn my phone on Sundays. Like, hey, no problem. You can do that. You're going to fall so fucking behind, and we're all going to resent you.
Yep.
And
we're going to talk about it.
Who's going to be partner, even though, it might even be illegal for us to say, or at least in France. I know bosses can't contact you on email on the weekends. So many people who are work obsessives who work 80 hours a week and are parents, they're like, but I take vacations with my kid and that's when I make it up. That's when we make it up. And it's like, it's the thing that sucks about life is no, you can't get it back. There's no getting it back. There's no hack to it.
Mm-hmm.
Lacey already mentioned that she starts hearing, in some ways, being a parent is also a competitive hellscape because she hears from these yuppie parents who are talking about the preschools that your kid needs to go get into and the waiting lists and all the things. My kid didn't get accepted and he had a great resume and impeccable references.
Right.
But she's like, preschool, what's that? And they're like, well, you got to get on a list for a good preschool. And she's like, I don't have anything. And so they're like, well,
kid can't even hold a cup, she says.
Well, you at least have to go down to the center.
The center. It's a week-long invasive training process where your kid is a slobbering fool in the beginning and comes out talking about Manon. No, I can't. I know
about Manon. Summon the
it's a witch
power
school.
Of the winds.
No, talking about Descartes or whatever. It's fancy. It's smart. So, there's different cuts in between her going to work and trying to do this. And, it truly looks, she's in her business outfit at the center where all the other parents are wearing the involved parent outfit, which is the outfit they paid for that matches your kid's outfit. She's not quite fitting in.
Yeah.
She's not fitting in anywhere. She's just trying to get by in both places and getting nothing really done.
Well, the movie's having a lot of fun poking at this kind of culture, which has only gotten way worse since, but it's just funny. The competitive capitalist hellscape of the 80s trickles down to all kinds, like Ronald Reagan said, it trickles down to all kinds of other elements of life where now being a parent means you also have to do it better than anybody else.
Well, and being a baby means being a better baby than all the other babies. Yeah. Oh, she's going to be really behind the other babies.
Yeah, everything is about getting that edge.
And look at how they're dressed. They look like the Soviet Union freaking Olympic team, the way they're dressed. Like, they look like they're in a factory trying to produce a good human.
Yeah. She goes back to work. It's the scene where James Spader is in her office. He's already planning on moving in. And then some other shit happens. And finally she goes to her boss, to Fritz, and says, I can't work with James Spader anymore. And he's like, well, too bad, because I'm actually giving him your spot on the food chain account.
Right.
And she's like, but I brought him in. I got this account. He's like, yeah, I know, but they're more comfortable with Ken. And, no problem. We're going to put you on the dog food account. It's much less intensive. You'll have more time to spend with the baby.
I told you can't have it all, JC.
Yeah. He says, I don't even, I told you can't have it all. I don't even know how many grandkids I have, but I have this company grossing $200 million a year. Now something has got to give. Nancy highlighted that title. But he's like, you've been going so fast for so long. It's okay to slow down. But we know what that means. He's saying like, you're not going to get fired. Maybe you should think about quitting though. And she does. Right.
She's like, I'm not going out there and saying I'm getting the dog chow account. That's not who I am here. And so she decides to live a different dream. And she grabs that paper that's circled that Vermont house and I love this time in the movie. I'm excited too. We're moving. I love moving. We're going to go do an adventure. Fuck yes. There's an orchard. You didn't tell me about the cows. You told me about the barn, but now there's cows.
But it's so telling that she goes so violently in the opposite direction. Like, not like we're going to move to Westchester. I'm going to work at a law firm.
I mean, she decides to, if she can't do her dream, she wants to do her second dream. The thing she never thought she'd actually get to do, which is have that vacation home and just chill.
But also I need to take care of cows and have an apple orchard. Like, you don't have to go that far.
Right. That's why I immediately went to Martha Stewart. You need to watch a documentary. That woman is a machine. JC's going to be JC everywhere she goes. She can't turn that off. But can she do it for herself and for her kid? Yes. I'm going to go hard for me, not for fucking Fritz and Freckle and whatever the hell name that company.
Yeah, she was to Hadleyville, Vermont, which was filmed in Peru, Vermont. And I said, that has to be the Beetlejuice town because Beetlejuice was filmed in Vermont. But no, these Vermont towns just look the same. Beetlejuice filmed in East Corinth, Vermont. But this is a true New England town. You got your pet cemetery geezers sitting on rocking chairs being like, oh, no person, Robin. Oh, well. And we see all the difficulties she has milking cows and rowing a boat and picking apples. And also, this house has problems.
Yes, everywhere she looks, she's got something catastrophic she has to fix, and it's 6,000 here and 10,000 there, and she's just going through her money, and it's just not what she thought. The snow's oppressive. It blows into the house. Everything's cold, and then she has a beautiful Diane Keaton freak out. And she's lonely. She's so lonely.
This handyman Vern is like, yeah, your well is run dry. And she's like, oh, great. We'll just fill it up with the hose.
And he laughs and he's like, no, like you're out of water, including hose water. You're going to have to tap into the freaking city line. Like, oh, God, it's like when we had to get internet out here.
Yeah.
That sounds hard.
Terrible.
And she's just like, okay, so how much is that? And then I don't know. She faints. She's so freaked. She faints.
Yeah, she has a Diane Keaton freak out. She's like, I need to get out of here. I need work. I need a social life. I need sex. And
I'm married man.
Please, ma'am, I'm a married man. And the whole scene is great. It's played in one take. Diane Keaton just moving back and forth across the frame, just freaking out until she just falls backwards onto the snow. And then we cut, and she wakes up. Who's this?
A doctor.
Sam Shepard as Dr. Cooper. Lacey, you might know Sam Shepard from Steel Magnolias. Most famous as a playwright and for...
I've only seen the movie like twice because it breaks my rules.
Okay.
It's too sad.
And for playing Chuck Yeager in The Right Stuff. But yeah, Sam Shepard, the great Sam Shepard, as this Dr. Cooper.
And he's holding her hand as she wakes up, and his hand's on top of her tits, and her hand's on top of her tits. I'm just saying placement. And she sees a doctor in a doctor's coat, and she starts crying and explaining what's going on, and she says, oh, I can't tell you my personal life. And he says, of course you can. And so she admits to not having sex in a long time and that she's lonely. She's so lonely. And they're having a nice moment, and she's clearly kind of attracted to him, I think, already. And then she hears a horse whinny, or a horse comes in, and she's like, what's that? He's like, my next patient. You're a fucking vet? That's not a doctor. Animals don't have biology and bodies. You fucking fake. And
I poured my heart out to a vet. And he's like, relax. I wasn't going to put you to sleep.
What is that? Fucking vet humor? And then she's freaking out over the sight of animals, which is always funny because, oh, I got a horse. Yuck. Oh, I got a pig. Disgusting. It's like you were just milking a cow. You milk cows. What are you doing?
She's in the midst of her freak out, and then she pulls a curtain. There's just a giant pig laying down,
there,
like
with its tits.
Sick with its tits out, and she
Sick
just
tits.
screams.
Yep.
But she's like, fuck this. I'm moving back to New York. All I need to do is sell my house and get a lot of money. But that's then finds out this house was on the market forever.
For 5 years.
You were the only nibble.
I'm the only nibble.
She's been making this applesauce at home. That's how she passes the time.
She got a lot of apples.
And she's talking on the phone with her New York friend. She's like, oh, I'm doing great out here. I make applesauce. Like, I make a lot of applesauce, actually. But it, passes the time until I'm dead.
No, well, it snows.
I know, Lacey,
okay, but it's not just passing the time. She does have a life. It's literally when you're trapped inside the house because it's snowing, Matt. That's different.
We see in her cupboard she has a billion applesauces already made, and then she goes to the general store where she's going to.
She's been selling them.
Yes, on consignment or whatever, and then some yuppies come in.
Yeah,
and they're like, "Hey,
oh, look at this country baby! Oh my God, this is adorable! I've never seen this. We'll take a dozen. Oh, it's $3.50. Oh, that's cheap. $5.50. It's $5.50. Oh, we should get more. Yes, no, for the twins."
So she gets the idea, say, people are dumb and will buy dumb stuff.
But she doesn't totally get the market yet. So she's taking her applesauce to all these other country stores because they're going to feed country. But it takes a while to kind of take off because
so first she has to go to the library.
This is for yuppies.
Right.
That's true. She's going to
get a lot of books.
I will say she is like out of the ordinary pissed at this doctor for much too long because she's embarrassed and whatever. But every time she runs into him, she's doing too much. She's a bit. This
annoys me. This is we need some sort of friction in the relationship.
Right,
no, you don't.
She's too much of an asshole. But he calls her on it, and
it could just be nice, sweet Diane Keaton and Sam Shepard like each other, and the hurdle is I feel the call of New York again. Right. That's the hurdle.
Right.
But she'll stay with a nice doctor in the end.
So she totally blows him off at the library, but then he comes and helps her change a tire because she's in the snow and reading a book to figure out how to change her tire, and she's doing everything she can to make him get the fuck out of here, and she's talking about how he's a piece of shit or whatever she's saying, and his reaction to that is, I'm gonna kiss you hard.
Oh yeah, well how about this? And he lays one on.
Yeah, really kind of gone a different way. I can tell you're just a woman who's all cooped up in her vagina. And he kisses her and she goes all floppy.
Yeah, she's like, wow.
Goes all goofy. Yeah. And then she's now she's just making that money, going all around.
This is the the funniest part of the movie, as we get like a classic like Pride of the Yankees montage of a map with town signs and first different people shaking their heads. No,
I don't want to buy it.
I know this is Pride of the Yankees. It's got to be other famous movies that this is directly referencing, but it's parodied so many times that it's hard to pin it down to one individual movie. But shopkeepers are shaking their heads no, but we see JC now, she's like pedaling on the sidewalk.
Yeah, buy one get 5 free. You're not going to believe this. Look, this baby food eats this baby eats this baby food. Wow.
Like, oh, and they all put down them, but they're all just putting down ones.
Because it's $1.
And so think now it starts turning up, and what she's on. She's putting her catalogs in mailboxes, and boxes are shipping all around the country. We see St. Louis and Chicago, and piles of cash start flying at the screen. And then she runs into Sam Shepard again at the post office, and we get some classic like Woody Allen era Diane Keaton, where she's just kind of like flirty, like, yeah, isn't that something? It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's a little awkward.
Oh, isn't that something? There's a hoedown of some sort where she dances with Sam
It's
Shepard.
the Maple Syrup Festival of Vermont.
Oh, okay.
It's their big thing every year. God. And she brings her kid, and she's looking at another kid, and she goes, isn't my kid cute? And walks away from that kid. And then he asks her to dance. She hands off her baby to the mayor. And
crucially, he meets the baby for the first time.
Yes.
And Diane Keaton sees he's good with the baby and likes being with
interacting with the baby.
No man would ever fake being nice to a hot woman's baby for a little while.
Well, no man she's ever been with.
Yeah. So they go back to her place and they go to Bone Town. Next, they fuck. And then it's the next morning and they're having coffee or whatever. And the after sex glow.
All night.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, because he says I require more than 20 minutes of sleep.
Oh. Okay.
Okay, Matt. God,
Tell me more.
Into that. This, yeah.
Break
multiple
my sound
sexes.
Barrier. Then she gets a phone call. It's Fritz. It's her old boss. And he's like, hey, listen, the food chain, they want to buy Country Baby. And she's like, oh my God, that's so great. Okay. Oh yeah, come over to New York. Okay. So she has to go into New York City this afternoon to hear their pitch.
3 hours away.
And Sam Shepard is like underplaying it like, oh, that's, so great. Well,
no, he doesn't say it's so great because he doesn't think it's great. He says, well, so I guess I can't invite you to bingo tonight. And she says, well, I'll call you later. And she means it. And, Elizabeth pops in the kitchen right before the phone call and says, Daddy, and calling her shot. And Dan's like, oh, honey, no, I think she's at that age where men are daddy. I'm so sorry. But he's not protesting. He's like, call me daddy.
I am daddy.
I'm daddy.
She goes to New York. She's back and she strides into this office and people are looking at her in awe. She is floating. People keep telling her how incredible she looks. I mean, this is like everybody's ultimate fantasy. Is I leave and then I come back and prove all the doubters and haters wrong. Not only that, but I'm hot now. And everybody's remarking on how hot I am. And now Everett, the shitty partner who denied her their promotion, he shows up with a teddy bear. And he's like, oh, where's that beautiful baby of yours?
Hoping you bring that baby on your hip.
Now we know that we like your baby because we want something from you. Mm-hmm. So the food chain, Pat Hingle again, gives a speech. We're going to offer you $3 million in cash, an annual salary of $350,000, and an incentive-based bonus to run the company as its COO. We're going to put Country Baby on every supermarket shelf in America.
In an apartment of your choosing.
And her legs start going nuts under the table.
Mm-hmm.
And Fritz says, I know there may be some hard feelings, but I've assured the food chain, you're a big girl.
Big girl.
And you're one tough cookie.
Because you can't just be a normal girl. You got to be a big one who's tough.
And Pat Hingle's like, now listen, young lady, you're going to make a lot of money.
Yes, it's so fucking patronizing. It's like, you know what? In the small town of Vermont where I live, I am a man. I am the man. People respect me. I have a man who thinks it's hot that I'm a man in the sense of like, I run shit. I'm the biggest business owner in that town, and people are nice to me and respect me for exactly what I am and who I am. You're not going to come in here, take the thing that I achieved and tell me that you're doing me a favor. Like, no, I would be doing you a favor, you cocksuckers. It takes time being removed from that environment and then going back in it to realize you're swimming in it. You're drowning and patronizing. They're doing you a favor. Everything you get is because of them. You're on the shoulders of giants. It's not about you ever. If you're good, it's anyway. So,
but that's what's so great about this. She has to go think it through. So she goes to the bathroom, looks at herself in the mirror, and she's like, I'm back. And then she leaves the bathroom and she walks. We have a tracking shot of her walking back, and she's just walking to the office and her face sinks. And it's so nice that it's not like we have a cutaway to a fucking teddy bear or something.
Right.
But you can just see it on her face. And you can read, I mean, there's multiple ways of reading this. If like, I miss my baby too much, or I see that all of this is bullshit. Like that succeeding in this world, like, doesn't mean what I think it means.
Right. I'm on this side of the table right now, once and only once. And as soon as I agree to this, I'm now on the other side of the table where I'm making sure you keep giving me the amount you said, or my performance reviews are good well enough that I can keep being the CEO, right? Like, I mean, the tables turn immediately. This is your only time on this side of the table. So like, maybe don't go to the other side. So
she goes back to the boardroom and declines the offer. Although, Diane Keaton, just sell the company. You don't have to be CEO. Just take the money.
She needs shit to do, Matt. What's she going to do? Be the mayor?
Start a new company.
There's already a mayor.
You got $3 million.
No, she likes doing this. She's Martha Stewart. This is the story of Martha Stewart.
Well, no, yeah. You never sell. Never sell when you got a winner.
Okay, but now they just know it exists, so just another company can make gourmet baby food. I really don't see, like, it's not like it's fucking copyright. We don't see a patent attorney.
They put it, she now stands at the head of this table, and in the wide shot of her in front of this very imposing marble wall, she gives like a speech, and she's like, I realized I'm not the tiger lady anymore, and I don't want to be the tiger lady because I don't want to have to make any sacrifices. Nobody should have to. And if the food chain could put Country Baby on every grocery store in America, then so
quite frankly.
But I thought she was going to say, but if you want to put it on every grocery store shelf, then it won't be the product it is anymore, because we'll have to like make it at scale and make it shitty. But it's fine. Whatever. That's not what this is about.
Okay, Matt. I'm glad it's okay.
I forgive you. But she doesn't want to leave Vermont. She's got a nice vet to fuck, and crucially, the baby loves Vermont. And the people of Vermont love her.
People, they do. They really embraced her.
My baby, who has not grown at all in the past 17 months.
This baby's going fucking nowhere.
And Pat Hingle's like, you won't change your mind.
It's delicious baby food, completely void of all nutrients. The baby is not growing. Yes, you won't change your mind.
And she says, nope, which is a callback to the thing that her handyman kept saying to her.
Well, shit, that she's becoming a Vermontian. What do you call it? Vermont?
Oh, okay.
Is she becoming a Vermont? A Vermonti?
She's becoming a
verminate?
A vermin.
A permanent person in Vermont, a verminate. Know what I mean?
I welcome you to. I'm trying to do a Bernie Sanders voice. Won't be able to.
I welcome you to Vermont.
I welcome you to Vermont. Hey, it's me, Bernie Sanders.
A Vermontian.
He is.
Oh, I thought you were trying to jog your memory to figure out what they call themselves there. It's like, I welcome you to Vermontian.
I think it's a Vermonter.
It doesn't matter. All right.
I think it does matter.
No, Matt, I'm tired.
Vermonters.
That's stupid.
That's the end of the movie. Final thoughts, Lacey.
Shit.
I know. How could you see it coming?
I don't ever see it coming.
All right. My final thoughts are, I think this is a fun movie. I think that the first half is really great, and the second half is just fine. And I think Diane Keaton, one of the best ever, and she's great in this movie. And I really like Nancy Meyers. I think this is a very good script, and I think that her husband does a pretty good job directing it as well.
Yay.
Harold Ramis is a lot of fun. Sam Shepard's nice and charming, and that baby's very cute.
That's a cute baby. I like the rosy cheeks.
This movie is way too long. It should be. That's always a Nancy Meyers problem. This movie should be 95 minutes tops, but 3.5 stars. Check it out.
All right, I'm going to go 4 because it's an LBB for me, and because I think it was ahead of its time in a lot of its ideas, and it gives Diane the floor. Just Diane Keaton, this is your movie. Go crazy with a baby, and I like that.
Absolutely, and it's not the baby comedy you think it's going to be.
No,
it's not. I don't even know what to do.
It's not even about the baby.
Yeah, it's not about the baby. Baby's just a spice.
A baby spice. Look out for
Baby
the
Spice.
Spice World episode coming in the next month or so.
Our 150th episode will be about Spice World. But first we have to do episode
Spice Up Your Life
147, which is about
Can't
the
wait.
legend of Billie Jean,
Can't
starring
wait.
Helen Slater and Christian Slater.
Not related.
This is our listener choice from our friend Monique's
Monique?
Movie Madness.
Mo for show.
So January 31st, check this episode out and check us out. Tell a friend about our podcast. Give us 5 stars, won't you? Subscribe to us on YouTube. Go follow me on Letterboxd, Matt Stokes 9 Lacey at Loadbearing Lacey, and listen to my band's music. Rural Route 9 is what we're called. Our album is The Joy of Averages. You can find us on Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you get your music. And I want to commend you all. Please check out our Patreon, loadbearingbeams.com.
Go look at it. How are we ever going to boom, baby?
/LoadBearingBeams. Loadbearing Beams. Collector's Edition, 2 bonus episodes a month for $5.
And you'll get to hear my very fun sign off if you're a Patreon. If you're not, you'll never know.
I don't even remember what it is, so I'll have to
Tell
pay
you
to...
later. Okay, I love you. Goodbye.
Three, four. Everybody, love Mary Keaton's